Hey, what's up guys, it's Texumer talking to you here, and in this video I will talk about what devices will have mini LED and what devices will have micro LED or even OLED. This idea came from the report that came out today from Quo, talking about the 11-inch iPad Pro will have a mini LED display like the 12.9 inch. And in my opinion, that's almost obvious because Apple doesn't have and doesn't want to have that separation between their two sizes. They want to have the same sizes with the same technologies. They just did it this year because probably the 11-inch wasn't ready yet and they couldn't fit a mini LED in such a smaller space. But just like they will do it with the iPhone 12s, where they will correct the difference between the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, then this next year, in 2022, they will correct the difference between the 11-inch and the 12.9 inch iPad Pros. This could mean that the 11-inch would have an increased price point, or it could mean the 12.9 inch could have a decreased price point. But before I dive deeper in this topic, roll the intro. So, which devices will have mini LED? First of all, the most obvious one is the 11-inch iPad Pro. Quo reported yesterday, together with some other reports about 14-inch and 16-inch, by the way, confirming that it will come on the third quarter of 2021. So I have a video there talking about that speculation, but in this video I want to focus more on the second part of the report, which was talking about the mini LED technology. So first of all, the iPad Pro 11-inch is the best candidate next for Apple to put their mini LED, because that's almost obvious. They don't want to have that separation like I talked about before. They want to correct that temporary difference and gap that there is between the 11-inch and 12.9 inch that made people that use normally the 11-inch go for the 12.9 inch iPad Pro. So Apple wants to correct it, and that's normal. So it's normally expected to have an 11-inch iPad Pro with mini LED, because Apple does want to. If they applied it to the 12.9 inch, why couldn't they apply it to 11-inch? But before that, we could expect the mini LED display to come on this new redesigned MacBook Pros with the M1X chip, so the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. These two devices would feature a new and improved mini LED display, because Apple has reportedly spent more than $200 million just trying to improve and make and create new assembly lines for mini LED displays, so they wouldn't be as short on supply as they are right now. Because the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, if you want to buy one right now, you will have to wait until the end of July, which is pretty crazy because the demand isn't that high for that iPad. So Apple needs to increase their supplies line so they can produce more mini LED displays for their new upcoming MacBook Pros. So I think, in my opinion, the M1X MacBook Pro 14 and 16 inch are the next candidates to have the mini LED display, which is quite incredible. And I think that all of the LCDs from Apple's lineup will be replaced, but for sure right now we will have mini LED display on MacBook Pros. The next device that, in my opinion, will have mini LED display is the iMac, because surely the iMac has an LCD display. So in my opinion, Apple doesn't want to have any LCD displays in their lineup for the next upcoming years. So they will startly and slowly make their way, replacing all LCD panels with mini LED ones. So like probably will start on the iMac 27-inch, just like they did on the iPad, and they're probably doing, I hope not, but if they do it on the MacBook Pros, I will be very sad. But they will probably add it to the iMac too, because that makes much sense, and they will turn the iMac display almost into a Pro XDR display. Then after that, they will probably give the micro LED technology, which is much more powerful than mini LED, to the Pro Display XDR in the future, so they can create that differentiation. I think that the iMac having a mini LED display isn't far off either, and I think that will happen in the next upcoming years. So I wouldn't even doubt that if they created and redesigned the 27-inch iMac with Apple Silicon, the next redesign that I'm talking about, they will have mini LED too. So that would be just insane, where all their Pro devices from the Mac line or even the iPad line would have a mini LED display. One device that I'm not expecting to have a mini LED display is the iPhone. I think that the iPhone will stick with 120 Hz OLED panels, so they can have a refresh rate that's adaptable to what the user is doing. So Apple is capable of adding 120 Hz OLED screens to their iPhones because these OLED screens are small enough that they create good yields and they are not as expensive as mini LED ones. But I'm not sure. Apple could add mini LED to the iPhone. But when you compare OLED to mini LED, I'm not sure which one is the best. I just know that the mini LED display has very good contrast ratio when compared to LCD. I think it's not as good as OLED, but it doesn't have any of the drawbacks that the OLED screen on the iPhone has. But the iPhone spends a lot of their time with the screen locked, so it makes sense to use an OLED screen instead of a mini LED to have even better contrast ratio on a smaller screen. So I think it's really cool, and I think Apple won't use and substitute the OLED screen on their iPhones until they have micro LED, which would be even better than OLED technology. For last, I don't think that the Apple Watch will get mini LED. I think that the Apple Watch will jump straight from OLED to micro LED, just like the iPhone. And I think that the Apple Watch will be the first device to get micro LED, because they were the first device from Apple's lineup to get the OLED screen. So, in my opinion, this new and revamped Apple Watch will have micro LED in about 5 to 6 years, because leakers have been saying like micro LED is ready for the next 4-5 years. So I believe them, and I think that they will come in the upcoming future on the Apple Watch first. So I don't think it will get mini LED and then micro LED and just changing all of that, while it still has OLED and it's a pretty good OLED screen. For the other iPads on the lineup, I don't think that Apple wants to give it mini LED. Reports are saying that Apple is preparing to launch an iPad Air with OLED screens. So that would be pretty difficult and strange to get an iPad which is cheaper and get a better display in theory. But don't forget that these OLED screens are almost the same as the mini LED ones, and the mini LED ones have 120 Hz and they don't have all of the drawbacks that the OLED screen have. So I think that Apple wants to use a cheaper OLED screen on the iPad Air so they can remove the LCD completely from their lineup, probably leaving it on the $329 iPad. So I think that Apple will release a mini LED screen on the Pro iPads and an OLED screen on the iPad mini and the iPad Air. But what are your thoughts on this mini LED technology? Are you excited for it? I'm very excited for it. I want to have it on everything except my iPhone and my Apple Watch, of course. I want to have it on my MacBook Pro, especially because I will buy the new and redesigned MacBook Pro, and I'm very excited to have a new screen technology to edit HDR footage, which right now I don't take because I don't have any panel to edit on and I don't know if the colors are correct. So I want to use an M1X MacBook Pro with mini LED, and I hope that Apple makes that investment and tries to bring it on time. And probably the reason that Apple delayed their MacBook Pros was the delay on the mini LED screens that are very restrained in terms of supply chain. So I'm very excited for that. What's your opinion on this matter? Don't forget to comment down below. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And this was Tech Sumer talking to you here. Bye.